Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Really excited for another edition of Birmingham AI. Who's here for the first time? Ooh, all right. A lot of folks. Is first time to the Innovation Depot as well? Anybody first time to Innovation Depot? Okay. A couple? Well, welcome. Really excited to have you. Who's been here more than 3 times? All right. Keep your hands up. 5 times. 8 times. 10 times. All right, overachievers in the double digits. No, welcome. We're really excited to have you. I'm William Glass. I'm the director of Birmingham AI, and we have a couple announcements before we jump in. But if you're new or you just don't remember, our mission here at Birmingham AI is to ensure, accelerate the adoption of AI here in Birmingham and ensure that it's a net job creator for the city. And so we want AI to happen for us and not to us. And that's why we exist. And part of what we do to accomplish this mission is getting all of you all in a room and tell you what's going on, give you the updates on AI, and then have you walk away with something tangible that you can take into your work life, personal life, and ultimately do more there. We've got exciting things that we'll talk more about in terms of more breakouts and more opportunities to connect. But that's at the heart of what we do and why we do it. So first, a couple announcements. I want to shout out Innovation Depot, the Boost program. If you have a startup, you're early on, Innovation Depot has their Boost program. They're accepting applications. It's a great program to get additional resources if you are building a startup or interested in building a startup. So go ahead and scan that if you'd like to be a part of it. Shout out to Innovation Depot again for always hosting us, and this is one of their great programs. Cool. Also want to shout out Techs in the City. Daniel also, yeah, there we go. Yes. So they get together a really interesting group of technical people and do a fun get-together panel. And this next month's topic in October is Real Talk about AI. We're going to be on stage. Birmingham AI is going to be part of that panel. If you're interested in attending, it's a lot of fun. They do great events, so want to shout them out as well. It's at Workplay. Know that you might have to save this link. Eventbrite apparently won't let you register yet. It'll be 30 days out, but that is the link, Techs in the City.
Registration starts apparently
September
September 21st.
21st.
Date is October 21st.
Date is October 21st. The second best AI event in town. Awesome. And one more shout out tonight, if you're free. We have Dev Barbecue. Definitely want to come out. It's a great event. If you're technical engineering, you just like being in tech, come on out. May the fork be with you. Right? But barbecue, beer, good vibes. It is this evening from 5 to 8 in Vestavia. So go ahead and scan and you'll get the address. But if you're available and want to hang out, have some more fun conversations about AI or anything engineering, this is the place to be. It brings all together different groups of engineers, meetups here in town into one place. They've been doing it now for what, 8 years? 8 years, I think 250 plus people will be there, so it should be a lot of fun. And now, I would like to introduce Chaz from UKG. So we couldn't do this without our sponsors, and this week's sponsor is UKG. So Chaz, come on up. Big round of applause.
Should I scream at everybody, like vote?
Here you go. Hey, don't forget the clicker,
awesome.
clicker. Big green button.
Forward slide.
For those, yes.
Didn't prep me on that one. Leave that there. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you guys. My name is Chaz Guy. I'm the sales executive for UKG across Alabama. I do have notes. Don't judge me. Speaking in front of people is a little bit difficult. But I did have ChatGPT help me workshop this about 50 different ways, so excited to see what version comes out of my mouth. I also used ChatGPT to turn myself into a more handsome salesperson, which apparently is that. So AI certainly still has flaws, because that looks nothing like me. I literally said just more handsome salesperson to change my entire face, eye color, everything. Anyways, there's 3 things that I hope you get out of this today. 1, who is UKG? 2, what makes us unique when it comes to AI? And 3, where is UKG heading with AI? So who is UKG? We are an HR, payroll, time, and culture technology company. Our roots go back decades. Kronos started in the 70s, and Ultimate Software started in 1990. So while we might look new, we have been at this for over 50 years. We serve organizations of all sizes, anywhere from 50 employees to 100,000+ employee organizations. And what really truly makes us unique when it comes to AI is our data. Everyone in this room knows that AI is only as good as the data behind it. And that's what really sets us apart, our width and our depth of the data. This means that we can train AI models with context that no one else has. So to really understand where we're heading is to really look at AI in 3 different layers, the evolution of it. So traditional AI, machine learning, generative AI, like ChatGPT, ask a question, get an answer. And then agentic AI, autonomous digital teammates that not only answer but act on what you ask them to do. So an example in the HR world, how much PTO do I have? The system will not only tell you, but also create that request for you. And with agentic, that's really where we are heading. So not just agentic, but agentic with orchestration. So one request triggering a whole slew of processes. Example being, I just got married. So the system not only updates your filing status, your benefits, state tax forms, and preps a PTO request because you said, I just got married and I'm moving to Atlanta, so do you need to request some days off? Here's some days off that you can take so that you can make that move happen. All orchestrated automatically. So unlike Amazon and Instagram where the apps are created to create stickiness, we are the exact opposite. We want you to get in, get what you need, and get out. The less time you spend in our system, the better. So, in closing, AI isn't new, but what is new is how we're using it to make work easier, to give people time back, to reimagine the employee experience. And at UKG, we're not just building features, but we are building the future of work. So thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Chaz. Awesome. I forgot one quick thing. Can we give another round of applause for Chaz and UKG? Thank you. Is anybody going tonight to the bar? Yes? Yes? Has anybody signed up recently? Did anybody sign up today, just now? Yes? Yes? T-shirt! T-shirt! So we're going to start. All right, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into some updates, some things that happened in the last month or so that you should pay attention to. We're going to go bananas for Gemini. We're going to look at real-world physical AI with Genie, and we're going to talk about some interesting updates with OpenAI. Everybody remember this photo? Has everybody seen this photo? This was like one of the first big AI-generated photos that went viral. The Pope in a big puffy jacket. And one of the things that AI hasn't been really good at on image generation are fingers, hands, right? You can kind of figure out where things are wrong. And these models like DALL-E, Midjourney, they're getting better. We're solving these problems, but what's really exciting is what Google just launched with Nano Banana. So image generations is bananas. Has anybody tried Nano Banana? A couple hands. Has anybody just done image generation in general with any AI tools? Okay. Yeah, so you've probably seen some limitations, right? It does some things well, some things not so well. What's really unique about Nano Banana is that it's good at precision. It remembers. So if you need to edit something specific, it will do that very well. So for example, this is a professional photographer. They've taken this photo. This wasn't AI generated. But normally it would take them about an hour to edit this photo where they would remove the person on the right and add a yellow umbrella in their hand. And it took Nano Banana about 30 seconds to do. So something that would take about an hour for a professional in Photoshop that knows what they're doing can now do this in about 30 seconds. Another example. So again, if you had originally asked AI to say, hey, I want to change this. This is an AI-generated image. If I want to go ahead and change one piece of it, oftentimes it'll change other aspects that you didn't ask it to. And that's one of the downsides. With Nano Banana, if I say, hey, I want to change the hair, add a braid, make it purple, it'll do that. Everything else will stay the same. So as you look across the two images, you'll see that the background stayed the same, the lighting stayed the same. The only thing that changed was what you actually asked it to change. It's pretty powerful. So I just did an example here. as well. This is Austin at last month's meetup. And I thought, why don't we use some free public IP, Winnie the Pooh, right? It's free, but we all, as kids. So I just asked it to make the 100-acre woods and throw Winnie the Pooh on stage. Did a pretty good job, and it changed exactly what I said. I said, just change the background. It left the TVs, it left the plants, it left the table on stage, and it just added Winnie the Pooh with a honeypot. So I said, okay, well, let me just add one more thing. Let's add Piglet and Christopher Robin as well. So it added Christopher Robin and Piglet coming down the aisle. Pretty cool. But I actually don't want the TVs or the plants, right? They don't actually look there. So I asked it to specifically cut those out in a prompt. And it did. And if you notice, it did exactly what I said, because it left the planters with no plants. So point being is that this is really powerful stuff. It does exactly what you tell it to do in natural language. You don't have to be quite as equipped at communicating in terms of like how specific a prompt had to be. But this is really powerful stuff that's coming out. So it's one to pay attention to, and there's a lot of excitement about it. There's also some, let me go back to the performance so you can see what, there we go. So just some performance metrics to kind of compare. There we go. To compare Nano Banana to some of the other image generation models, you can see what Nano Banana performs well on is speed and memory. So that memory is what allows it to not change other aspects of the image, and speed is it does it a lot quicker. If you've ever used DALL-E, it takes a little while with ChatGPT and ChatGPT's DALL-E. This happens really quickly, a lot more quickly.
So, William, with the speed of acceleration, how long would we expect to see before DALL-E to catch up?
Great question. When will they jump? I expect probably, I don't know the answer to that, but it seems like every 4 or 5 months, somebody releases something. I think Google in particular, especially with what you'll see in a second with Genie, but also what they launched with Flow, has really put a focus on visual. And some of the things we'll talk about with OpenAI, they're focusing on some other applications as well. So I don't know exactly how quickly they'll jump each other, but historically it's been, every 5-6 months. Great question. Cool. So the big thing with this is that most of us probably in this room have never used Photoshop. So the experts, there's still things that these tools obviously cannot do, and you still need to be an expert to do. But the key thing is that if you're not paying attention, now everybody in this room can start to edit photos that you never would have been able to do before, and start to generate images that you never would have been able to do before. And so the big thing is that 99% of people that have never used Photoshop can now do image editing. And so this is really powerful from a business perspective. Perfect. So let's jump into physical AI. So we talk a lot about generative AI software. Let's talk a little bit about physical. There's a big update with Genie 3 for how do you actually train these robots, as well as when you think about software that will interact in physical space. So if we're going to have self-driving cars, for example, right now we use images from people driving, and there's safety drivers, there's those kind of images, things like that, that actually help train the models. But how do we train the models in a safer way? So if we had somebody in a manufacturing environment, how do we make sure they don't hurt somebody, right? You can't just put them on the factory floor. And so Genie has created these worlds where you can train the software for these different physical worlds. So there's a big update here. Let's go ahead and play the video.
What you're seeing are not games or videos. They're worlds. Each one of these is an interactive environment generated by Genie 3, a new frontier for world models. With Genie 3, you can use natural language to generate a variety of worlds and explore them interactively, all with a single text prompt. Let's see what it's like to spend some time in a world. Genie 3 has real-time interactivity, meaning that the environment reacts to your movements and actions. You're not walking through a pre-built simulation. Everything you see here is being generated live as you explore it. And Genie 3 has world memory. That's why environments like this one stay consistent. World memory even carries over into your actions. For example, when I'm painting on this wall, my actions persist. I can look away and generate other parts of the world. But when I look back, the actions I took are still there. And Genie 3 enables promptable events, so you can add new events into your world on the fly. Something like another person, or transportation, or even something totally unexpected. You can use Genie to explore real-world physics and movement, and all kinds of unique environments. You can generate worlds with distinct geographies, historical settings, fictional environments, and even other characters. We're excited to see how Genie 3 can be used for next-generation gaming and entertainment. And that's just the beginning. Worlds can help with embodied research, training robotic agents before working in the real world, or simulating dangerous scenarios for disaster preparedness and emergency training. World models can open new pathways for learning, agriculture, manufacturing, and more. We're excited to see how Genie 3's world simulation can benefit research.
Perfect. So before we get to OpenAI, pretty cool, right? So not only helping train physical AI, but also people. How do we do it in safer ways? So really interesting stuff, things to pay attention to. And when you think about Birmingham specifically, we have a lot of construction manufacturing that we're really strong at. There's some opportunities here in the future of how do we continue to excel in those areas. So that's why we wanted to show this to you today. Now there's some other updates from OpenAI. You might have seen that they recently hired Fiji Simo, who was the former CEO of Instacart and Facebook executive, as their CEO of applications, showing that OpenAI is really focused right now on consumer apps, right? They launched ChatGPT. They've essentially become the big consumer-facing app for representing LLMs with the launch of ChatGPT. Really the reason why this meetup even started was a ChatGPT meetup. And so they're doubling down on building applications on top of their models to go into market. And her first act, which is really interesting, is launching a jobs platform for companies that are looking to hire and source AI talent and create AI jobs, both AI operations roles, prompt engineering, all of these different things that we talk about here at Birmingham AI, as well as a certification program for companies and people to get trained up and understand if somebody's actually proficient. So this is really big news, and there's more to come. It's not live yet, but they have made the announcement, and they've got partnerships with some really big companies. So, and with that, we are gonna continue to upskill everyone in the room. So please, if you haven't already, go ahead and sign up for October's meetup. We're gonna be talking about browsers. So AI browsers like the Perplexity's Comet browser. And we're going to go into what are some of the cool ways that you can utilize those and what they do, what they can do and what they can't do. And so with that, I'm going to kick it off to Austin to talk about our main topic with Evals.
Cool, thank you. Good to see everybody. This is mostly working. No, it just did. Do I need the other one? I need to attach it to my lip. Oh, it's just not on. Is that better? Yeah, all right, cool. Okay, good to see everybody. I missed the initial show of hands. Who's here for the first time? Okay, good, thanks for being here. Who's never been in Innovation Depot before? I just like seeing that, a couple people. Okay, good. Well, welcome. My name is Austin Sensman. I'm one of the founders of Birmingham AI. My talk this month was going to be about AI evaluations, which you may be like, I don't even know what that is. You may be here just because of that. We're going to sort of talk about that, but I want to give the context for why that's what I wanted to talk about. And that's going to be more important. And then we'll go down a slightly different path. So I like to think about companies rolling out AI in the context of hiring AI into your business, right? Like there are these jobs that need to be done, and people do many of them, most of them, and maybe there's an opportunity for AI to do some of them. And so we're not hiring a person, we're hiring a machine to do a thing, but I think it's a useful analogy. And so it's a bit of a roller coaster. The experience I've had over the last month, I speak to two full rooms of local CEOs. and I got to experience a wide range of emotional reactions to AI. And it was very interesting. And one that stood out to me, that really was the prompt for this talk, was a CEO expressing, he had 50 people kind of doing the same important role in their company, and he wasn't frustrated. We had like a heated exchange. Like he was pissed off, right? I mean, right, everyone's wasting their time. This can't do what it's supposed to do. It was great. I mean, I kind of loved to just hear the raw kind of feelings that were happening. They were in it, right? They were trying to do something, but it was very frustrating. And as he was talking, one of our themes at Birmingham AI is we want AI to happen for you, not to you. And so part of the story there is we want people to feel like they have a lot of agency, right? So I heard him saying things like, well, the models are just bad, right? There was a lot of like things, the story he was telling himself was, there's nothing we can do, right? The models just aren't good, this and this. And as he was talking, I was thinking, there are many things this person could do to improve this situation at their company. And that ended up being a fruitful exchange. I happened to see him, run into him just haphazardly, sort of the next day, and we had a long conversation about this. And it was a very good, productive conversation. And I think he got to a place where he realized there's a lot we can do. So that's a bit of what I want to talk about today. Part of the challenge he was having is their people were just sort of, like he said, just kind of playing around. I think there is a lot of value in just playing around with AI tools. But when you're trying to make progress on an important business outcome, just doing it by vibes, this is Rick Rubin. I don't know if you're familiar with this, The context here is Rick Rubin is a music producer, and 18 months ago, I think Anderson Cooper interviewed him. He's very, very successful. He produced albums for the Beastie Boys and Jay-Z and all these people. And someone asked him, is it right that you don't know how to play any musical instruments, you don't really know anything about music? And he said, yeah, that's right. And so they asked him, like, what do you do? Like you hang out with these musicians, they pay you a lot of money, you're very successful. And he said, I just have really good taste and I know how to explain myself very well. And musicians have found that helpful. And people latched onto this because these are similar skills that you need to use ChatGPT well. Right? You need to have good taste. You need to know how to explain yourself well when you're using these things. And if you can do that, you're good at these tools. So he sort of became an icon in this moment, okay? So there is something about the vibes of using ChatGPT. But when you're trying to get something working in your business, this is not enough, all right? So I wanted to bring in a concept that developers, software developers know very well, which is called evaluations or just evals. And this sort of springs from the idea in software that we build tests, meaning when I'm going to launch some code, I run a series of tests first to make sure that it works before it goes into the application. And so there's a whole branch of this around evaluating AI code, okay? And so I kind of like baked a kind of a developer version of what a developer might say. But like, as soon as I put that up there, I was like, this is not appropriate for this audience, right? Or myself, really. And like, what evaluations are, is there structured ways to approach how an AI thing performs, okay? Meaning like, I'm going to try a prompt and get the result. I'm not just going to try a bunch of different prompts and sort of say, oh, that feels a little bit better, that feels a little bit better. Maybe there is a structured way to say, this response is better than this one. I asked it to be under 100 words. This one isn't, right? We'll kind of get into that a little bit. You are familiar with evaluations if you come to these meetings. Who was at the meeting last month? Okay. So we talked about agents. Benchmarks are a type of evaluation, right? So one of the benchmarks for agents is how long can an agent perform a software coding task in this example without human intervention. This is getting a lot better. GPT-5 can basically do a 2-hour-long task, okay? The content here isn't totally important. I just want you to understand this is a form of eval. But it's a bundle of tasks that for this CEO that I'm talking to is like this. He doesn't care. Like, oh yeah, the meter Agentic AI benchmark has been exceeded. He doesn't care at all about that, right? And so a lot of what gets presented to people in the news or when they're hearing AI updates is, oh, a benchmark got exceeded. And practically for people, it's meaningless, means nothing, right? It doesn't translate at all into what an AI can actually do, okay? And so these are some of the things that are occurring to me as I'm having these conversations over the last month. So I reframe this just a little bit to, if we think about hiring AI to do a thing, an evaluation is a structured test that basically checks how well AI does its job. You've hired a person to do a thing, like, how are they doing? You've hired an AI to do a thing, how is it doing? All right? So I looked at every eval software product I could find. You're laughing, Karan, because you've done the same thing, okay? There are tons of these products right now, and 100% of them are for software engineers. What I was hoping was to find something that a non-technical audience could use to do this type of work. If you're just trying to figure out, hey, can ChatGPT do this financial research for me, all right? That doesn't exist. So if somebody wants to build that, go for it. So we're not going to look at evals in like a hands-on kind of how-to way today. There's a path to do that, and will talk about the engineering breakout. But the path to look at those things in that way is for software developers. Okay? There is a level of evals that's out in the world now that's very ad hoc, right? Like the labs are reporting on this, but it's coming out of research and case studies. You're going to see software vendors pitching this stuff. This just came out last week. Here's a much more focused question that's relevant for a business. Is AI good at interviewing people? Okay. It turns out in this experiment, the 70,000 entry-level customer service reps in the Philippines, AI was significantly better. All right? And there's data that sits behind this. Sorry, we jumped to Michael Scott too early. So a month in, the people that had gone through the interview process with the AI were retained at a significantly higher level. The AIs, it got through the entire interview process with everybody. It wasn't like, oh, my time's up, I got to get to the next one, okay? It was reported to be less discriminatory. This is like subjective from the people getting interviewed. So this is an eval, right, that is now interesting to a business owner when they're thinking about what could I do with my business. Yes. So what occurred to me in putting this talk together is I want to give people a practical set of steps for how to go from I have a feeling that AI could help my business in some way to developing the confidence through evidence that that is the case, okay? And the questions that I was hearing from people are kind of around these buckets. Now, these are going to seem really basic, but I've tried to simplify it in a way that I think is how a lot of leaders want to talk about it. Is this thing possible? I get this a lot. I don't know anything about AI, but I have this intuition that this thing, I've read these news articles, is this thing possible, right? Like, could AI interview people? Okay? So people want this sanity check kind of thing. Like, am I crazy for thinking that this could be something we could do? So that's the first question I hear people asking. That's very common. And we'll get into that one a little more. The next level is, okay, yeah, there's some evidence here. I talked to my friend, they've done it. But is this actually something that I would feel comfortable like pressing play on? Like, how do I develop a level of trust that I could actually do this in our business? The other set of news stories you read are about all the problems that this causes, right? Oh, we rolled out a chat bot and it like gave away free money or something, right? Stuff like that. So this is real, okay? I think these are the things that leaders are more keyed in on. It's not fancy stuff. It's like, is this possible? And is it not going to cause problems? Is this someone I can reliably hire? You know? All right. So these are the two things I care about today. All right, because this is the point where a business leader can make a decision to go invest some significant time and effort into doing one of these things. Then there's the actual, okay, like, let's go hire the AI to do it. And then there is this interesting challenge of, I have this AI doing this thing, let's say like interviewing people. How do I like keep tabs on them and manage their performance? OpenAI shipped a new model and now it acts differently, and right, like there's lots of other variables that enter into it, okay? So we're not going to talk about that today. I just want to get to the point where people understand how to make a decision. And this is not going to be an extremely technical talk, all right? But in talking to these groups of people for the last month, these are the important things I think I want you to hear, okay? All right, so we're going to kind of look through the sanity check step and what I'm calling the reliability gate. So what can you do today to get started? So you saw the eval for interviewing entry-level customer support reps. All right. So one place to start, again, the idea here is to find evidence. You wonder, is this thing possible? Okay. How do you find evidence that it is? Well, I would go and try to find research papers. And this is going to feel a little intimidating because you know how these things are written poorly. And it feels kind of strange to go be reading academic research. But a lot of the like freshest, best data on this stuff is in these papers. And you usually can at least get a summary of them, okay? So research and case studies. That thing I just put up on the board about customer service reps, that got published in an academic journal like a week ago. That's not going to filter down into mainstream thought for probably another 3 months, okay? But if you read it, you know what it is, you can move forward, all right? Are you talking with your peers? So, like, hey, Frank, how do you find that? You know, something like ChatGPT deep research. Like, any of the deep research tools from ChatGPT to Gemini to Claude, they're great web browsing agents, you know? And I'll have a prompt up in a minute to show you how to just unleash it, okay? Like I'm in Frank's Vistage group, okay? And I'm around other people every month who I talk to about things like this in their business. And I think everybody needs to be in those kind of groups, whether they're formal or informal. It's an aspect of networking that's particularly valuable right now, to be around people that are trying these things. Imagine just being able to clone yourself and put yourself in a bunch of other businesses, right, and then come back and collect that knowledge every month, okay? There is just a lot to learn there. And talk with software vendors. You know, I mean, this is a little bit of a double-edged sword because you're sort of walking into a situation where you're going to expect to be sold, but the best vendors are going to educate you as well, all right? And they are going to help you understand the evaluations that they use to make claims about their software, and that will help you understand how to make this decision. So for example, if you identified a company that built AI that helped do interviewing, you would learn a lot about using AI for interviewing by watching one of their demos. So that's actually a great place to learn right now. And this is a depiction of, you know, what it used to be like to explore the ocean. There is the go find out option. And I say this because, is it possible that the thing you want to do is not been researched yet? Yes. No one you know has done it. Yes. There's not a software product for it right now. Yes. It's kind of where we are. It's a bit of the challenge is more things than people think can be handled in 1, 2, and 3. Like someone probably has done, probably is a software product, there probably is research. But for many, many things still, there is not. Okay? And so there is a lot of value in being the type of leader that is willing to go find out. Okay? I put the people on the ocean up there for a reason. I think it's a fun metaphor. You got to think how crazy these people were like 500 years ago, where they're like, I don't know what's over there, but I'm like, gonna get in this ship, and I'm like, go over there, and I don't even know why I'm doing it, you know? But some of that same energy, I think, is relevant right now for people that sort of approach the world that way. This is a little bit of a lead-in to William, Will, myself. We've been getting lots of people, sort of offhand conversations, saying, I'd like to help out with Birmingham AI. So I put this up here to say, if you're one of these types of people, we want to be a little more formal about this moving forward. If you would like to volunteer with Birmingham AI in any capacity, okay, this is new for us, okay, this would be like, I want to help lead a breakout. I just want to help with event day logistics. I'm a brave soul who wants to speak, okay? If you want to get involved in any way, we want to start providing better pathways for people to do that, okay? If you haven't been here before, we always email this out, the whole deck after, okay? So you'll get it, and you can look at it then. I'm excited about this. Will and I, before William got here, were mostly just kind of overwhelmed by this. So we're like, yeah, we don't really have anything for you to do, but now we do. So I'm excited to get some people more involved. All right, so let's come back to this. This is the frustration. I believe in this conversation, this person said AI is bullshit. Okay, that was the kind of conversation we were having. I was having a conversation with one person with 20 other people in the room. You know what I'm talking about? Where they're kind of like yelling at me, and I'm like, I didn't make this stuff, you know? So Frank was there. And so, but it gets back to this point. We want this to feel like something that's happening for you, not to you. All right, so I know it feels like I'm repeating myself here, but there is value in these types of benchmarks, okay? And the value in these benchmarks is not that it helps us translate right now what AI can do for our business in a particular way today. There is value in that it gives us clues about what will be possible in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, okay? And that's what needs to be read into these charts. And so let's go back and talk about finding out, okay? Derek, this is like how I would approach this. All right, so you'll get this in your email, right? Who here has used one of the deep research tools from any of the providers? Okay, some people, not enough. I think these are like the best AI tools that are available to the public right now. And if you don't know what they are, all of the major providers have them now. ChatGPT's is called Deep Research. It is a research agent. So it's an agent in the sense that you ask it to complete a goal. In this case, I'm looking for evidence that AI can do a certain thing, right? It's an agent because it has access to tools, right? It knows how to search the web really well. It's an agent in the sense that it makes its own plan, right? So how would you approach even researching this? It's going to put together its own plan about, well, I need to look for all of these things. It's going to assemble a document. It's going to read the document. Oh, we're missing some stuff. I need to go find some other things, okay? There's a slide that I probably should have put up here that's worth mentioning that I still show a lot. A guy with a PhD got 20 of his PhD friends together, okay? And he asked them, use ChatGPT Deep Research to write a paper in your area of expertise, Okay? So they all did that. And then he asked them, how long would it have taken you to write a paper of this quality yourself? And most of them said over 10 hours. Okay? Just for context, this thing takes 5 minutes to do. Okay? So if you haven't used this tool yet, that would be a good piece of homework for next time. It's a little hard to deal with at first too, because you're like, I don't have someone just sitting around doing 10-hour research projects for me. Like, what would I even ask it? Right? But then when you start using it, it becomes quite addictive, actually, I would say. Right? Because imagine getting anything you wanted answered at a very high level of detail. Like exactly what you want. Like listening to a podcast is great, but if you could like call them and be like, hey, make the podcast exactly about this, that's kind of what you're getting, right? Okay, so that's the prompts. This is meant to unearth all of that stuff I said was helpful evidence. All right? So here's the part about evaluation. I am going to give you the recipe for doing evaluation just for a non-technical person, just so you understand the steps and the thought process. This mostly happens for people like us in spreadsheets right now, okay? So again, this is kind of like the explorer mentality where you're like, there's not a tool for this, but I'm going to figure it out, all right? So here's how it works. This is also just some practical experience, and there's going to be a link to an article here too that I found very helpful in this. It is helpful to not do this as a team, okay? So if you're doing like interviews, we're going to have AI do interviews for entry-level candidates. Find one person and designate them as the expert in that thing. All right? You're going to develop at least 10 test cases. Okay, so that may be like 10 interviews that have already happened. All right? Meaning I have the transcripts or whatever. Or you might say, hey, I'm going to get 10 people to who are like, Confederates in this to like call in and like do an interview with the AI, okay? But we're going to have 10 pieces of test data. And you're not going to use special tools to do this, okay? We're going to use things like ChatGPT. Let me pick a different example. Let's say I want ChatGPT to create some sort of financial analysis for me, all right? And I'm like, is that possible? Let's say, can ChatGPT create an income statement? Is that possible, right? So I would find the person in my organization who knew everything about that, like how we did it, how it worked, and I would ask him or her to be the domain expert. We would develop 10 different examples where they had the relevant information, and then we would get ChatGPT to try to create income statements, right? That person, probably just in a spreadsheet, would grade each of the results. Okay, they would look at each 10 and they would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is it? Is it pass, fail? And then give a detailed critique. So imagine it's like a junior person had done the work and that person is reviewing it. Okay, and that's exactly the right framework to think about it. All right. So at this point, you are going to have a quick read on is this working or not. Right? The things I just described can be done, like if we use the income statement example, honestly, that could be done in a day. Right? I'd give yourself a week to try to think through one of these, but it should be pretty quick. You're going to know right away if this thing is way off base or you're in the right spot. All right? Based on the person's responses, you're going to try to develop some rules. Right? So you read their critiques. What are the rules here? What are sort of the implicit and explicit assumptions of what good is? Okay? An optional thing here is to try to create another prompt, like let's say for ChatGPT, that could act as the expert. So get the expert to write the rules themselves and then have that prompt do the grading and see how well you do. All right? So we did this. I did this. I don't know if Dave and I talked about this. I was like, oh, we're thinking about going to the UK. This is my last startup. The prompt I gave was much bigger than this. This is very simple. But I was like, how good are these different tools at doing something like this? And so behind this, there's a spreadsheet, all right? And I created 6 different categories, like dimensions of like what good was. And behind each of those was a big description, like when I say clarity and structure, here's what I mean, okay? And then I used, these are all different ChatGPT models, okay? And so I created a bunch of outcomes here, and then I had this grader go and do all this grading. I was curious, like which one of these tools is the best at doing this kind of work? And it produced something like this. Now, you may be like, well, what's the difference in a 3.3 and a 2.7 and a 4? The point is if I'm going to go talk to this about this with someone in my organization, like, can AI do this thing? I now have a place to start. I've defined the dimensions of what good is. We have a common language to talk about it, and we can make some criteria clear where we can make a decision, okay? Otherwise, you're in a room where you're like, hey, I did this, and I think it's pretty good. And that's like about as far as that conversation can go, okay? And you're imagining these CEOs. Imagine this guy I was talking with who was frustrated. I think that's what's going on, where people are showing up and they're like, yeah, it's pretty good. And he looks at it and he's like, no, it's not, you know? And then they just kind of get in this weird thing. So that's what that looks like. All right, I'm going to play this. I played this earlier this year, but I want to hear you, have you hear it again. This is Ethan Malik. He's one of my favorite bloggers. And someone asked him about hiring a chief AI officer, okay, and what he would look for. And his answer surprised me, and I'd like you to hear it.
Or AI org. So I worry a little bit sometimes on the chief AI officer thing for the same problem that everybody is having, which is everybody wants answers. And like I talk to all the AI labs on a regular basis. I know you guys do too. You've been doing this for much longer than most people in the space. And you know, the horrible realization you have fairly quite quickly is that nobody knows anything, right? It's not like the labs have an instruction manual out there that they haven't handed to you. It's not like that there's like more data than what I'm sharing with you guys about this or that I share online. Like there's no secrets, right? There's like, there isn't, everyone's like desperate to copy somebody else and there isn't. So like when you say hire a chief AI officer, how are they going to have any more experience in the last 2 years than anyone else did? No one thought LLMs would be this good. Like you guys were there before almost anyone else. Like that gave you a year of head start, right? Like this is a weird place we're in. So there isn't someone you can hire who's like the expert. And they often, I mean, one of the major problems of AI in organizations is that AI meant something very different from 2010 to 2022. That is still important, by the way. Large data, you know, going ahead and XG boosting everything, like still worth doing, right? But like that's a very different beast. So a chief AI officer is kind of a hard hire. I really feel strongly that organizations have the expertise they need to succeed internally, because the only people who know how to use AI will be the people who are experts. It's very easy for someone who's done a job 1,000 times to, you know, run a model and figure out whether it works or not. And in fact, in our BCG study, we have a second paper that shows that junior people are much worse at using AI than senior people, which is not something people think about. Usually they're like, we need the digital generation to come in. Turns out not to be true, because junior people produce a memo and they show that the memo and you're like, it's a memo, it's great. And you're like, well, I've looked at this for 20, I've done this for 20 years. Here's 7 things the memo doesn't do well. Right? So expertise and knowledge matters. So I think it's less about embedding people in teams.
All right. So the person he's describing is that domain expert that you've put on this task. And it turns out like people that know the workflow really well are extremely valuable. So the research initially that I showed in that prompt is just meant to give you a sense of, is this thing possible? Is this worth spending time on at all? Is this possible? What I noticed next is folks don't have a clear sense if they try one of these things and it doesn't work that well, what to do next. And I heard this in talking to the CEO. It's like, oh, the model's bad, right? There's just nothing I can do, the model's bad, right? And so we talked about prompt engineering some in here. Prompt engineering is a fancy word that means knowing how to ask for things in the right way to get the things you want, okay? And so better prompting leads to better answers. Okay, so that's one thing that I would suggest this person I was talking to work on. The other one, what tools to use. So ChatGPT and Claude can do very different things, increasingly so. And then there's the tools like Zapier and N8N, the Agentic tools. So just even in this sort of bucket of the stuff that's accessible to non-technical people, the tools have different capabilities, and you need to understand what might be more appropriate for the thing you're trying to do. Okay? This was a conversation we had. What models to use? So, I don't think ChatGPT 5 has actually made this any better, really. But I'm increasingly still shocked that people say, this is not working, and I go and sit down with them, and they're using one of the non-reasoning models that's just not as smart as one of the thinking models, okay? So ChatGPT has lots of different models. The differences between them are not subtle, okay? Some are much, 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 much better at certain things than others, all right? So being aware of that's really important. And when I got down to it with this CEO, I asked him, they were using one of the models that wasn't that smart, okay? And then finally, what context to provide. So the model can be super, super smart, right? But if I haven't given it access to, let's say, last quarter's financial data, it's going to have trouble producing the income statement, right? So it's part of the prompt, but I think it's a little different, like building the right context around the prompt so that it can understand what to actually do. My point is, people get frustrated quickly, and they don't understand that there's a number of levers that they have to pull that with relatively low amounts of effort can improve their outcomes a lot. All right? So these are all things that we talk about in here with some regularity. All right? Okay, this was a big paper from the last couple weeks. Who saw this? Right, so some people went to a conference and talked to 52 people just sort of in the hallway at a conference and then wrote this article. Yeah. But they wrote it because it's just a good headline. They knew they could sell a lot of ads on this one, and I'm sure they did. But it was interesting. I didn't focus on the 95%. I mean, 5% of the people had great success. And so what was interesting to me about this article is they pulled out what those people were doing that was different. And it was three things. They weren't working on net new things. These were like the bread and butter, well understood processes in their business. Again, where they had domain experts, I think, who understood them well and understood how AI could help. They were focused a lot on back office stuff, just sort of the day-to-day, trying to make stuff happen in the business, not sales, not marketing as much, not customer-facing things. That was very interesting. And then overwhelmingly, the people that were having a lot of success with these tools were not just doing this in ChatGPT. They were going out and buying specialized tools to do a thing. And that was really interesting to me. I mean, we spend a lot of time talking to about ChatGPT and those tools here. And I think our approach at Birmingham AI needs to be a little different moving forward, I think, based on what I'm hearing. So is this the right task to tackle? There's a bunch of things you can do to improve your results here. It's a skill issue type thing. But increasingly, I'm thinking like this stuff matters less, okay, for non-technical people. And that we should be more focused on finding specific tools to help us with things. This is more relevant now because like 24 months ago, there were 0 specific tools to help with things. Even now, there's a lot of tools that just simply aren't built yet. But increasingly, there are more and more tools that are built to make an income statement, do AI interviews, right? Y Combinator is just churning out companies that are tackling very specific problems, okay? So I think we should spend more time in Birmingham AI talking about specialized tools. We don't do it a lot. And I'm not sure the general meeting is the best place to do this. What I am thinking is the way we've set up our breakout groups is meant to do this. So we launched a finance group. We've had an engineering group going for a while. We're having a nonprofit group for nonprofits. We want to do a lot more of these. And so I think part of the volunteer page might be if you're interested in even attending one of these that doesn't exist yet, or speaking at it or being a part of it, to express that interest. I know there are a lot of marketing people in the room. There are people that do human resources and people ops, things like that. So I imagine these being a space where you can check off a lot of those things in that previous slide. We can look at research and case studies. You can sit in a room with your peers. You can have software vendors come and teach you, all that stuff, right? And I think these are the spaces where this can happen. I think it's going to accelerate what we're able to do as a community, okay? So if you want to sign up for those, there are the QR codes. What evals do, whether it's a formal one that a developer's doing or an informal one that you're trying in a spreadsheet, is it gives you a feedback loop. It's not just vibes, right? You've decided what good is, you've sat down and had a clear-headed conversation with yourself and with your peers about what good is, and you're able to move forward and build some confidence, okay? I think this is just a critical thing to try, just to try it. And it's gonna be kind of hard and frustrating because the tools are not built to make this easy to do. It's going to feel like I'm copying and pasting stuff everywhere, right? It's going to feel like that. That's just where we are right now, all right? But it answers 4 questions for us, right? How do I develop confidence that AI can do a thing? How much of a job can AI take on right now? This fights the hype, right? Is this real or is it not? And then how do we know that we're making progress? So when you do an eval, it's great because you do it this month, you get a result, you do it next month, the models have improved, the tools have improved, right? You can see progress. All right? So steps 1 and 2, is it possible? Can we trust it? That's kind of what I wanted to take you through today, right? And I hope it was helpful there. When you go and talk to software vendors, it's going to be good if you've already done your own eval work before, right? Because they're going to have a story to tell you, right? And if you don't have a clear sense of what's possible today, their story is going to sound very appealing. All right? So they're kind of 2 worlds that we're living in now. And I think they're both are kind of true for people. Some people are living in a world where AI is a waste of time. I think a lot of people are there, especially at the leadership level. People are frustrated. Okay? And there's a world where AI is transforming people's businesses. All right? And I think the difference in these 2 things is less in the tooling and the models, and it's the way people think about the world. You saw this in COVID. Like, COVID happened, right? And some people who owned a restaurant are like, we're just shutting this thing down. And some people are like, we're going to sell illegal alcohol and keep it going. Right? And it was like the psychology of the owner. It was like 2 different paths, right? And those places succeeded, and the other places are, they're still closed. And I think it's the same kind of thing, like the psychology of the leader matters a lot right now, okay? So that's that. I went over on time a little bit, didn't I?
That was great.
All right, well, get up here.
Let's give a round of applause.
All right, thank you.
Very refreshing.
Huh?
Very refreshing.
Okay.
All right, I got a couple minutes here. One of the things we want to start doing near the end of the meetings is just a quick breakout spotlight. Since we're going to be doing more of these, we want to connect the main message with some of the things we're doing in the breakout groups. And so last month, just a couple of weeks ago, we got to do an engineering breakout where we had a couple members from the Harmony Venture Labs team, Praise and Pax, come over and talk about a platform that they're building called Listed Kit AI. I took this screenshot, that's why it's fuzzy. Don't blame the HVL team. But they've added in this whole AI agent that does so much incredible work. And they built this out in 2.5 months by just getting their best developers and product people inside a room. And they just were there every single day from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for literally 2.5 months. And it's amazing. Who was at the engineering breakout a couple weeks ago? Did it blow your mind? It was incredible, everything that it could do. And part of it was, again, as we are giving AI more functionality to do things for our users, we need to be thinking about evaluations. And so for engineers, like Austin's referring to, there's really 2 main evaluations we use. One is logic-based, where we ask a question like, what year was ChatGPT released? And then we expect a specific answer, and it's either gives us a right answer or it doesn't. But then there's also what we call model grading, and Austin referred to some of this as well, which is that you can just take an entire support conversation that your AI chatbot has with a customer. You can pass it to an AI and say, hey, did this agent solve the customer's issue? And based on that, it will give a yes or no feedback. It can give a certain grade. These are the types of things that engineers are using to evaluate the AI that they're putting inside their applications today. So just a couple quick examples there. I wanted to show 2 quick screenshots. This is what an evaluation platform looks like on OpenAI. You can see every single prompt that's passed into the system, and then you can see whether or not it passed or failed the evaluation. And then one more, I think this is from LangGraph, Langsmith, where I thought this one was interesting because they actually give you a hallucination score. So based on the user's query and what was asked, and then the data you provided it, is the AI hallucinating things or is it staying on track? So as Austin mentioned, this might be like step 6, and we got to get started with some of these earlier steps. A lot of the what's baked into these systems you can get out of using a flow like Austin just mentioned inside of ChatGPT. Like, hey, are we on the right track here? Is this the right thing? Give me my 10 cases that I care about the most and give me a grade back on it. So why do we want to highlight the breakouts? Just to show you that we get to go a little bit deeper here on these topics, and as we create breakouts that are relevant to what you're doing every day, come and join us. We've got 100 people almost signed up for the engineering breakout, and we want to fill up this room with engineers as well. Nonprofits and finance. Earlier in the presentation, we showed you a QR code that didn't work. So get your phones out, scan the code again, and RSVP, because we got to pump those numbers up. Now, we want you here next month. As Austin mentioned, we're going to send this out in the email. So if you're unable to get your phones out and scan it right now, you'll have another chance. But we want to see you next month. I'm excited because the tentative subject for next month is AI browsers. I don't know if you've started seeing this yet, but they're putting more AI functionality into your browsers where you can just more easily get a summary of the article you're reading. You can chat with the YouTube video that you have pulled up. So we're looking at exploring that. Let us know if you're interested in that for next month. The last thing I want to say, and everybody who's left, Kaiser just left, he's not eligible for the t-shirt that we're about to give away because he's leaving early. Scan this code, and we want to start tracking some attendance in these meetings. It's clear that we need to show this before 1:01 p.m. But we want to start tracking attendance, and even more than that, we want your feedback. We want some fast feedback on how these meetings are going. Did you like today's meeting? And let us know what you think. Let us know what topics you care about. So we got just a simple question in that. We'll be able to follow up with more questions to get more information. And as I mentioned, we're going to give away things for people who are coming to attend and coming to participate in these surveys. So we're going to give away a t-shirt to someone who fills out this survey. As we start to track attendance, we're going to give out more. We're going to have more exclusive events. With that said, thank you. Let's give a round of applause to everybody who came today. I appreciate it. We'll see you in October. Thank you.